Arunachala Ashrama moved to this location in 2005. It was founded 50 years ago on December 8th, 1966. And we're observing the 50th anniversary of the ashram incorporated in the state of New York. We were previously in 2 other locations in Queens, but we settled here finally, and it looks like we'll be here for some time. There's a long story how we found this place and how it has a connection with the Church of the Immaculate Conception across the street in a monastery. And I wouldn't be able to tell that story here, but it's a long story. We see, if we walk over to the door of the shrine, you'll see a carving on top of the door. This carving is in teak wood and is an image of Dakshinamurti. Dakshinamurti is considered to be the primal guru who taught in silence. The disciples came to him and they sat in silence and understood the truth. Ramana Maharshi is often compared to Dakshinamurti because his greatest teachings, or most potent teachings, was that of silence. And those who can connect with that silence understand themselves and realize the truth within themselves. And the purpose of doing that is why this ashram was founded by Arunachala Bhakta. And it's a matter of dedicating your life to an ideal which is greater than what we experience in this world. It's an ideal to realize who we are, the essence of our own being, which is one with reality, the ultimate reality, and infinite, and the truth of ourselves. He says this best describes the experience of oneself, and it was given to Moses. And they asked, many of the pundits said, we have so many Mahavakyas. Brahmasmi, Aham Brahmasmi, Tattvamasi. Why do you think that this better represents the truth than our Mahavakyas? Well, Ramana Maharshi didn't want to dispute with them. He said, this is my experience, that's all. I am that I am. Now, it's like a mantra. If you just say the whole word, I am that I am, you have the truth of the self. If you take off the last word, I am that I, again you have the truth of the self. If you take off the last word again, I am that, again you have the truth of the self. Then you have just 2 words here, I am. That's what God told Moses was his name, I am. If you take off the am, you just have I. And I is the self alone. So this is the essence of Ramana Maharshi's teachings, also the essence of the Bible, and also the essence of all religions. Here we have the Samadhi tomb of Ramana Maharshi, where he was interred on April 15, 1950. In front of this is a large hall, which was constructed later. And his body is buried under there in Padmasana pose, facing the mountain, which is north. Usually when they bury sadhus, they face them east in South India. But they did that initially and they thought Ramana Maharshi and Arunachala were one. And how can we face him east when the mountain is there to the north? So they picked up his body and turned it to the north and had him facing north. Ramana Maharshi gave liberation to his mother, like Adi Shankaracharya, who came and gave deliverance to his mother at the time of her death. Ramana Maharshi sat alongside his mother at the time of her demise, with one hand on her head, another hand on her heart. And all those vasanas that rose within her that would cause future births were quelled by his touch, until she finally ceased to have vasanas rising up, and she attained liberation while she was alive. And then she shone with an extraordinary light. Even at the time, or after her death, she shone also with an extraordinary light. So, the brother Ramana Maharshi took great interest in building a shrine or temple over the mother Samadhi. which is now next to Ramana Maharshi Samadhi. And it was built in traditional style. Ramana Maharshi took great interest in the construction of this temple. He even put his hand on the Sri Chakra Meru inside and consecrated it during its Kumbha Abhishekam in March of 1949. This is in relief form, starting and going up to the center. So this is what they installed over the mother's Samadhi. And Ramana Maharshi stood over that and held it and blessed it prior to the Kumbha Abhishekam, or during the Kumbha Abhishekam of the mother's temple. And daily puja is done there in the shrine. It was inaugurated on January 1st, 2012. And it was built onto the building we just came out of. And my brother designed it with the pillars similar to the granite pillars there at Ramanasramam that are on the veranda of the Samadhi hall where Ramana Maharshi is interred. And he used many of the temple designs that are there in India, the windows being high up. He went to Mahabalipuram for 6 months and studied with his Ganapati Stadpati, sculpturing and architecture. And he incorporated a lot of that architecture into this building. He made that sculpture of Ramana Maharshi and also the one of Arunachala Bhakta, which is over there in the corner. And this is a Sri Chakra drawing you see behind the statue that Ramana Maharshi made with his own hand. There was a devotee, Veena Amal, who used to come to him when he was living up in Skanda Ashram, probably around 1919. And the ladies of the ashram, Skanda Ashram, where mother was also, they used to recite Lalita Sahasranam every morning, 1,000 names of the mother Lalita. So many of the ladies had images of the Sri Chakra in metal at home, and this lady could not afford it. So Ramana Maharshi drew the Sri Chakra for her so she could take her home. Her grandchildren have it in their home now in Chennai. And this is a copy of that. You see this little stone here. This is from Ramana Maharshi's old hall. In 1986, they teared down the hall and rebuilt it with the same window frames, the same trusses, the same woodwork, but they had to rebuild the walls. In the process, they broke up some of the flooring. And I got a piece of that flooring that broke up, and we keep it here. And also we'll have a piece, and we're making a replica of the old hall in Tampa. And we're also going to put a piece of that original old hall flooring there in the Tampa replica. They have this statue, which was made during his lifetime. But it doesn't depict him as he was at that time. It depicts him as a younger age. But they took the measurements of his arms, of his fingers, of his ears, then to get it as much as a exact proportion as he, but he was older at the time. And there was a picture like this before this picture was taken, the wedding pictures, which was the most popular picture of Ramana Maharshi, full body. This was taken from that picture, this statue. But they had him sit for it. And if you go to the cow Lakshmi Samadhi, did you see the cow?
Yeah, of course.
So if you look to the right of that, there's a big stone slab, maybe 3 feet by 3 feet, just on the ground, flat. And they made a practice statue of Ramana Maharshi when they were doing this out of chalk, just for practicing. Then usually they just break it all up, so they didn't feel like breaking it all up. So next to Kalakshmi's Samadhi, you'll see on the right side there's a stone, they buried it under there. So there's another Samadhi for Bhagavan's body. If you look closely, his fingernails are very long. And the person who took this photograph was working for the government, taking photographs of prisoners. But he was very devoted, so if he heard of any saints or Mahatmas in the area, he would go and take pictures of them. And he went and found Ramana Maharshi. He's 20 years old here. Still looks like a boy of 16 when he arrived. It even looks like someone brushed his hair, to get it up and make it look more presentable before the photo was taken in Virupaksha Cave. It was taken on December 2nd, Tuesday, 1947. And it's the same photograph that they put on the couch where he's sitting right now in the old hall where he lived for over 20 years. It was accessible 24 hours a day. So you see there's 2 clocks there. It looks like he's very particular about the time. So we say one who lived in timelessness was very particular about the time and very particular about the schedule in which went on in his life there at the ashram. This picture is also taken around the same time, but it was in another building next door, and the light was insufficient. And the photographer told Bhagavan that the light is insufficient for this picture. You better wait. He said, and the photographer said, "You are the light. It'll work." And this is what happened. We got the best picture of Ramana Maharshi, giving a very gracious smile. And wherever you stand, you feel like as if he's looking at you and pouring out his grace. They'll have the Kartikeya Deepam in Tiruvannamalai. That's where the mountain Arunachala lies. It's 2,600 feet. They light a big cauldron full of ghee on top, which burns for more than a week. And it commemorates the day which, according to the tradition, that mountain manifested as Shiva. And millions of people will go to that festival and do giri pradakshina during that festival, and especially on the night where they light the deepam. You must be familiar, Anandamaya Mai. So someone gave us this. We had some disciples, some sannyasi came here of her, so she's a great saint, Mahatma, realized soul. And she even visited Ramana Ashrama in 1953 after he passed away. And she said about Ramana Maharshi, he's my father. And we're all his children. And so that room we teared down and built a new hall there. And that was the opening to the room.
I see.
There was 4 doors, collapsible doors. And we end up using those inside those stained glass paneled doors in the shrine. Actually, they were there covering this door. And we had them refurbished to work inside that shrine. So that was an opening. So we covered that with a bookshelf. Shankaracharya.
Oh, Shankaracharya Madhyamam.
Ramana Acharya.
Paryantam. Vande Guru Parampara.
So say obeisance to line of preceptors with Daksharamurti in the beginning, Shankara in the middle.
And here, I think our devotee made him sit like this to take a photograph.
No, and he asked, no, the photographer.
Oh, the photographer, yeah.
He said, which is it, the left foot over the right knee or the right foot over the
Arunachala Shiva.